Imagine waking up one morning and hearing the Prime Minister of your country asking people to save petrol, avoid unnecessary foreign travel, stop buying too much gold, work from home again, and use more Indian made products. Would that sound normal to you? Or there's something different? Because when a leader like Narendra Modi makes such a request to 1.4 billion people, the world pays attention. Is India preparing for a future oil crisis? Could the conflict in West Asia trigger massive inflation in India? Will petrol prices explode again? Could the Indian middle class face another financial shock? And the biggest question of all is the world quietly moving towards a new economic crisis. Today, in this deeply researched documentary, this video, we will break down why Modi made this appeal, what global tensions are really happening behind the scenes, how oil politics control the world economy, and what future impact this could have on India. Jobs, inflation, business, and your daily life. Watch this video till the end, because the next few years could completely reshape India's future. To understand the Modi's statement, we first need to understand one important reality. India runs on imported energy. India imports nearly 85% of its crude oil from other countries, and most of that oil comes from one region, West Asia, also known as the Middle East. Now, here is the problem, that the region is becoming increasingly unstable. Tensions between Iran and Israel, attacks in Red Sea, shipping disturbance, militant conflicts, militaries build up, all these events are threatening global oil supply chains. And if global oil supply gets disrupted, countries like India suffer the most, because India depends heavily on imported fuel to run its economy. Many people think petrol only affects car owners. That is not true. Oil affects almost every part of your life. The truck carrying vegetables to your city uses diesel. The aeroplanes you travel in uses fuel. Factories use energy. Delivery systems run on fuel. Farmers use diesel-powered machines. This means if oil prices rise, transport becomes expensive. If transport becomes expensive, everything becomes expensive. Food prices rise, electricity prices rise, online deliveries become costlier, travel become expensive. This creates a dangerous chain reactions called inflation, and inflation hurts the middle class the most. This is exactly why governments become nervous during global oil crisis. One of the most surprising part of the message was about the gold. Why would the government care if people buy gold? Because India is one of the world's biggest gold importer. Every year, Indians buy massive amounts of gold jewelry and investment in gold. But here is the catch. India imports most of that gold from foreign countries using US dollars. Now think about this carefully. If oil imports become expensive and gold imports also remain high, India's dollar reserve can come under pressure. This increases something called the current account deficit. In simple words, the more money starts leaving the country that enter in it, and that the situation worsens, the Indian rupee can weaken significantly. That is why the governments encourage people to reduce unnecessary imports during uncertain global situations. Now comes the most important question. Could India face another crisis like 1991? In 1991, India faced one of the worst economic emergencies in its history. The country almost ran out the foreign currency reserve. India had to pledge its gold reserve to survive financially. Now, is that the exact situation? Is that not exactly? India today is much stronger than it was in 1991. Foreign exchange reserves are larger, the economy is bigger, exports are stronger, digital payments have transformed the economy. But there are still warning signs. India remains heavily dependent on imports, imported oil, imported electronics, imported gold, and if global conflicts intensely, India's import will go up. That is why the economic cautions becomes important. Another interesting point was the indirect push towards home work from home. Why would the government encourage that again? Because remote work reduces the fuel consumptions massively. Imagine millions of people not commuting daily, less traffic, less fuel, less pollution, lower oil imports. A simple shift in work culture can save billions of dollars from the economy. COVID-19 showed governments worldwide that remote work can significantly reduce operational cost. The five major points we have to think. Rising inflation is the most and biggest impactful. Inflation prices rises, transport costs rise, food prices rise, and suddenly the monthly budget ordinarily of the families go up. Second part is the stock market volatility. While price shocks create panic, stock markets, industries heavily dependent on fuel, science, transportation, logistics, manufacturing. If fuel prices remain unstable, India may aggressively push electric vehicles. EV companies, battery manufacturers, and charging infrastructures business could grow rapidly. This crisis may actually accelerate India's electrical show. That is why the government focus on local manufacturing. During the uncertain times, India may increase support for domestic factories, Indian brands, local supply chains, electronics manufacturing. This could create new business opportunity. Now the fifth one is the growth of digital jobs and AI economy. Companies may cut operational cost. This could increase demand for remote jobs, freelancing, digital business, AI automations, online educations. The future economy may become more digital than ever before. To understand this fully, you must understand one reality. Oil is not just an energy. Oil is power, a global power. It is a superpower. It completes the control energy routes. America wants a stable oil supply. China wants energy security. Russia benefits from high oil prices. Iran controls a strategic geography. Saudi Arabia influences global oil productions, and India is trying to balance relationships with everyone. That is why India maintains ties with the United States, Russia, Israel, Iran, Saudi Arabia, because in modern geopolitics, energy diplomacy is survival. What should ordinary Indians do? So now comes the practical questions. What should ordinary people do? in certain economic times. Economic. Here are some smart steps. Reduce unnecessary expenses. Save more money. Avoid excessive debt. Build emergency funds. Improve digital skills. Support local business. Focus on financial stability, because during global uncertainty, cash flow and adaptability become the biggest strengths. History teaches us something important. Every major global crisis changes the world forever. The 1973 oil crisis changed global energy politics. The 2008 financial crash changed banking systems. COVID changed how humans work and live, and today the world may once again be entering a major transition phase. But every crisis also creates opportunities if India prepares wisely. Remember, this moment could actually strengthen India's economy in the long run. Maybe that is why the Prime Minister Modi is asking people to prepare early, because smart nations prepare before the storm arrives. Now the real question is India ready for the next global economic change? And more importantly, are you ready? Comment below and tell me what you think. Will India become stronger from this crisis or face difficult years ahead? If you enjoyed this deeply analysis, like the video, subscribe this channel and share this documentary with your friends. See you in the next video. Till then, bye bye. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.